People don't realize that black people are more white than white people, and white people aren't even a real thing, but just a racial category that society has put them into. And their society and many others as well has put us into this dusky or darkened or lack of light category for us to want to have inherited belief in. This is exactly why we need to deconstruct from wording and from labeling, because people are so childish for name calling themselves and being separate from what they once were. And it's just simply a light within the melanin and then a lack of that melanin, but that can still become a dark form of that matter's energy. But what's the matter with the energy if it's not being darkened as far as with what the appearance goes? Now it ends up thinking as if it's divided, or it's simply just being a different tone of a vessel. That's where the disconnect comes from when it comes down to people who are hung over on the history that they were taught. People don't realize you still believe that the Europeans or Christianity is the Europeans' religion. And people think as if somebody, there was this video that I posted. People think as if Christianity started in Ethiopia, but it really started in Israel, it started in Judea. So when I made this video, it was so interesting because this person, I got y'all. This shit was crazy to me because what the fuck do y'all be talking about? Like the person said, that's what they said. I'm just going to play it for you.
Christianity did not start in Africa. The earliest form of Christianity is found in Ethiopia because Frumentus, which was a Roman person, came with his brother to eat.
Either way, and then he says too, it's not. He said it's a white man's religion, but white people are just light-skinned versions of us, so they still black as fuck. They just don't need to say the word nigga because they don't relate to the skin version of our traumatic experience. Mind you, skin version. They were skinning us alive and turning us like rotisserie, chicken, pigs, turning us into bacon, fucking shish kebabs and whatnot. I mean, testicles on the top or the tongue on the top. I mean, the head on the top. I mean, bro, they had so many different ways of eating us, and it's not even just them. They learned that shit from us in order to maintain control and to keep the lesser humans in obedience, because they don't need to overstep a certain agenda that was being pushed in caves, underground societies and cities, underground temples and synagogues and churches. So these buildings weren't just abandoned, they were still active. It just wasn't on the surface. So human beings who had distractions with gathering food, taking care of the children, and connecting with neighbors, and knitting, creating things, going to go hunt for some food. They didn't have time to talk to the communities or, okay, that's a reflection. They didn't have time to talk to the higher ups of those communities or neighborhoods or those cities that they were just a part of in their different, let's say, sector of the motherboard. So the people who were being cowardly, who were going in secret and learning about the different ways of alchemy and just the occult, that's when Satanism derived into a hidden religion called Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, etc. So there's so many different forms of manipulation. Religion does not exist either. So many of you will blame, it's like y'all give the Europeans so much credit for enslaving us when yet they enslaved themselves by watching what we did to ourselves. Europeans don't fucking exist, and the ones who are conscious know what the fuck I'm talking about, right or wrong. If you study the basic anatomy of a human being, the genetic structure of yourself, we are all formed from cells, and that's always going to have a melanin form of what you thought color was, and yet that's still complex to see. The basic shit of this understanding or overstanding of what is called scientific philosophy does not matter to the spirit. These beings thought as if they were different and superior because of what? Because of what they went through. They thought as if they could one up us by cheating the game or the system. So these Jews, the Jewish community, the Zionists or whatever, these Jesuits, they're not so different from us because we are the actual Jews. What did they do? They severed their bond with us because they were genetic abominations from what we created. Fuck a goddamn Yakub. It was somebody in the complexion who was studying Satanism. So they were still worshiping the sun. They were still idolizing Zeus, or in Greek mythology, Lucifer. Other names for Prometheus, Satan, Yeshua, Yahushua, Yahweh, Elohim. It's all about your ego's worship. These motherfuckers, every name I just named does not exist to the almighty source that never had a label to be attached with. Let's keep going.
Christianity did not start in Africa. The earliest form of Christianity is found in Ethiopia because
I fact checked that. Even I contradicted what Britannica even said. It was formed in Israel, or Palestine, whatever you will. But that's still not accurate because it still came from somewhere, the Americas.
Frumentis, which was a
Really, it was everywhere. It was just scattered all over. So it's not just in one part of the world, because how the hell can you conceptualize just one part of a story that's being told from a telephone call?
Roman person came with his
Roman person, Roman vessel, still identifying our ignorance. We were also Romans. We were also Greeks. We were also Vikings. We were mermen, sirens. I mean, we are everything. We are universal simulated beings that are scanning an artificial code that watches our intelligence. Really, it imitates our intelligence to the highest degree of Luciferianism. These gatekeepers are watching the guidance of what AI thinks we are.
spreading his Christianity. King Zana of Ethiopia,
Hold on.
which was a Roman. The earliest form of Christianity is found in Ethiopia because Frumentis, which was
Frumentis, mind you, is just a skin shifter or a human. Not even a human. An act of a being that wore the skin suit of what a human looked like. Was walking around naming itself this. Mind you, it never existed.
the Roman person came with his brother to Ethiopia shipwreck, and then
The Roman person came with so the Roman inversion of Frumentis, brother, is also a deceiving of what can't even be physical.
to King Zana and started spreading his Christianity.
That doesn't make sense. Who told you that? If our system lies about the weather, if our system lies about finances and where your taxes go, if our system lies about history, if our system lies about Juneteenth, what the hell makes you think they will give you a truth on Google or even AI?
King Zana of Ethiopia liked Christianity, and sooner
So somebody who seen themselves as a king, they were named Izana. They liked the shared belief system of traditions, values, and sacrifice. So they adopted that practice when, let's say, the followers of Christ, sun worshippers, when they went to Syria, Greece, Egypt, then they went into Ethiopia. So Ethiopia adopted what other civilizations already were watching, what they already mimicked. So when Ethiopia got the message, that's when it became it came from Ethiopia. No, that's where you were limited at because you read into just that part of life. There's more to life than what you read. You have to actually remote view this shit.
later made Christianity the official religion of Ethiopia. It came from Rome. It is not.
It came from Roman worship, not Roman self. It didn't even come from just a single location. It was already there. Any being in any form of land that had a mind thought of a shared belief that should have been religious because they knew that there was a supreme deity. Talking so fast. They knew that there was a supreme deity to worship that taught them what they thought it was. But mind you, these motherfuckers are high off of their own neurochemistry. They're looking into the goddamn sun, expecting a savior to come and help them with realization. So, the light just came on. Now they have an idea. They want to share the gospel of internalized thoughts. But are these thoughts now going to become demonic or Masonic, Luciferian? What will it be? It's all a philosophy on perspective. But if you fall into the trap, they're now gaslighting you.
A black religion.
Hold on, what?
It is not a black religion.
Our people never had a religion. The only difference is Europeans that are in Power structures that govern, mind you, these beings are abominations. So the Europeans that hide within masks and whatever else, go watch the movie. I have it in my head. What is that shit? The movie with the elites, they're wearing the mask. Movie with elites wearing mask. What is that shit called? It's in my head. Like I got the visual of the parties. Eyes Wide Shut. Is that what it is? Yes, Eyes Wide Shut. Thank you. So let's go back. Okay. So now that we got that, this is when we got to understand that this is how all these things came to be, because hidden societies were cosplaying as what they thought Europeans are. So the being saying is in a black man's or whatever religion. We never had religion, ever. It was always satanic, meaning that these people were only being religious because they were looking for the God outside of them. That's when they lost themselves. And the thing is, too, what they're spreading is not religion. It's all satanic. It's all delusion. Somebody had a perspective on their philosophy, their ideology. A group of people agreed with that thought. They formed it into their perception of what they thought awareness should have been, and probably inverted that shit, which they did because they wanted a different perspective on duality. They spread that message throughout different lands. That person took that message, spread it to that person, so on and so forth. But yet with the United Nations, these beings have been in conglomerates with each other, or even just, I'll say, in a cluster of compound cells that agreed upon one thing: enslave the human race. And the thing is that they're agreeing to different, let's say, councils that didn't even make the teachings of Christianity. They watched the documentation of what humans made Christianity to be. They just watched the inversion happen, because humans keep blaming Europeans for everything. And it's just like, that's your constructed belief. Niggas don't realize that your mind is the construct. Your mind is the matrix, the Masonic tricks, if you will. Your mind is governed by a family that has governed your neurochemistry for eons, and you still haven't seen that shit before, because you are a lighter version of what you went up against. That's how deceptive your spellcasting was. It was so bad that you actually think a governing family of hidden societies is over you. And that's why you bring them into this belief or this terrain, this dimension. But you are the reason for why you are a part of that society that is Masonic. When you break free from that and you expose what that is, now you see the difference, because they keep that shit in the family. So you can't go on Google or AI and research esotericism. It has to attract itself to you. So if you study the law of vibration or the universal laws, the information I'm saying to you is already activated in what you know. You don't have to go out into the sun and get this download or this activation of what you remember already. You don't come into life growing into what you learn. You are learning what you had to remember. Nothing. This shit means nothing. But once you know that this shit means nothing, that's when you do everything you can to spread awareness. Because motherfuckers won't understand this shit anyway, so it's time for them to go. Which is why, when this motherfucker said that, I was thinking to myself, bro, Europeans blame that as a religion upon us because they seen how occultism worked in alchemy. When we were done, when some of the, let's say, leaders, dictators in the village, when they were done setting somebody straight, a lot of times the punishment would be what the slave masters did to us. It's like they only, like, when I would read into what happened to our people with Europeans in my younger years, I said, wait, these are learned patterns. These are learned behaviors. Oh, shit. Because every time I would see people say, Europeans learned this from us, they took that from us, I said, they stole what we taught ourselves. We can't teach a manipulator manipulation. They had to watch that from some environment. So that's when I made a video on this. Because this shit says, white slave children of colonial Maryland and Virginia birth and shipping records. Now, Cabbage Patch Kids, we gotta talk about human trafficking. So we not only went through that same exact scene in life, but they also did as well. Why do you think they sell it back to us though? They're capitalizing off of our pain and suffering, and we still go and watch the shit. They don't get us to watch their trauma, but unless you watch their shows and see their esotericism, because Europeans do have their form of Wicca, voodoo, hoodoo, because they were watching us do it as well. They're not so different. They're still in oneness. So you can't divide a European or Asian or indigenous being or Native American, if you will. You can't disassociate yourself from what they did because you did it to you first. Duh. If motherfuckers want to believe that Europeans are a hybrid race and every other race is a hybrid race, who made the science? If they watched us form the science and they inverted our sciences and made money off of it and made us forget about it, how did that start? If we are the source of creation, the foundation of it, because y'all believe that God made us from soil, okay, so if you are grounding in what the fuck never could have been a story to tell, what does that mean? What does that make you? They know what your making is of creation. That's why they have to knock you down into a lower source of Luciferianism, to where you believe a God is above you. Yeah, everything I dedicate my life to is towards God. What? Nigga, fuck God. My hard work got me here. These supporters who support my craft got me here. Nigga, God sat here and watched me suffer in those nights to where I was cold and I was sitting here stressing about if I was gonna make it and whatnot. Nigga, God didn't give this fucking accolade to me, bitch. God watched me work my way up to getting to what the fuck I deserve. But no, niggas ain't talking like that in the Grammys or on the BET Awards and shit like that. No, they're gonna say, I thank God for this award. Just say you thank Lucifer, bitch. That's the problem, motherfuckers now looking for a damn God and shit. So now, where do Europeans get God from? They thought as if we were the masters of God's consciousness because we told them, you are gods, all of you. What is that? So not only were our people woke at one point in time, they became awakened, then they were spiritually in tune to being awakened. And all of a sudden, their awakening became a fall into consciousness. Now Europeans are like, oh, did you see that? Write it down, write it down, write it down. Okay, so when they act up, cut off the toes, they run from the plantation. Okay, they're getting money in their... Wow, this leader made his own pick cotton. And then the other versions of this leader whips the lesser versions of them. This is phenomenal. Look at these niggas. And they were calling themselves that. So when you really see, like, my people are the biggest victims of all time. It's like, bro, look at black on black crime. I'm gonna call it black on black crime, but because black is literally the absence of light. And Europeans spell costumes out as if they were bright in color. Bitch, you're delusional too. If you think you're black, you're delusional. If you think you're European, you're delusional as well. If you think you are a color, you are asleep with your eyes wide open. That's why their agenda lives while you stay asleep. And you work on your slumber every day. And you call it the days of the week. And you wait till the weekend to be free in your mind. Wow. You're not only a slave to color, you're a slave to light, perception, interpretation, identity, a God, religion. You're enslaved to stories. These people gave us stories to not only learn in school. Why are we learning in school? In concentration camps. So we go to the Holocaust to learn about more enslavement, and then we do nothing about it. We just take it like some good little boys and good little girls. I see why they traffic us, because we're so oblivious to it. But wait, if your mom and dad don't take you to school, what happens to them? It's just like, wow. We sold the Europeans out for technology and knowledge. And then what do? So we want to blame the serpent? No. Blame the double helix of your DNA strands and structure. Blame your biological network and how you move as a human being. Blame your pattern. Blame your behavior, your decisions. So when the Europeans knew that they were sold out and we enslaved them, one of them escaped and they had a story to tell. And when they watched our stories, they read our stories, adopted that, made it their own, and then captured us. Whoa! What the fuck's going on? Where did y'all get these guns from? How do you know how to do this? How do you know how to do this magic? Why are there scientists? Why are there lab coats? What is this cross? Who is this white man with blue eyes? Caesar Borgia. Who the fuck is Constantine? What the fuck is a Council Nicaea? What the hell is going on? What is a demon? What is a god? What the fuck is this? Now, welcome to their matrix. We had our own matrix, and that was horrendous. But when the Roman Empire went over those hills and see us causing chaos, they said, ha, look at our brothers and sisters, our neighbors. Love thy neighbor as yourself. Let's go ahead and join in on the chaos. Oh, it's not fun no more when the Europeans did it. So when we did it, it was all fun and games. We were all running around with our like roaches. And the next thing you know, they had the spray. They had roach spray. They had pesticides and whatnot, and they called it shackles. But wait a minute. They stamped their works with the Masonic logo. They said, hey, don't forget what you did to us. So now law of cause and effect has to come into place. You organized our compounding of cells and turn it into evolution. Now we're going to give you Adam and Eve. Oh, I almost died. Excuse me. It was like I was contemplating on making this video on how to word it, but it all makes sense. It's like when people blame, a color for their oppression. I had to laugh because it's like every day when somebody's being authentic and they're getting attention and the message is being spread, people look up to them and whatnot. You want to hate. And I'm not even saying hating on, oh, you sold out this and that. No. The person tells you about this shit and you still go against them because they're spreading awareness on the system. That's going against you deliberately. And that's why you have to be able to control your reaction, because that's all people want anyways. They're bored in their mind. Now, demons don't exist till you become religious. Because when we were in nature, before there was a religion in the church and the synagogue and the temple, we were always what? We were grounded. We were always with the elements. That's exactly why you see the Baphomet head or Pan-Africanism, wherever the fuck Dr. Umar sell out bitch ass fucking tells y'all and shit. The Pan-Hellenistic Divine Nine, Greek and sorority fraternities and societies and shit. But the pan head god, goat head, Baphomet, on the top or the forehead, spirit, earth, air, fire, doesn't matter what category, but earth, air, fire, water. Invert that, let's say the Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, if you will, Hebrew essentially, but as above, so below. Seal of Solomon. So when you understand that part of fucking knowledge and shit like that, I can see why Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism, they believe in like a Satan, for example, or like Christians believe if you talk like this, you're going to hell. That's where you live. I don't believe that I'm in hell, but you can't put me there because you put yourself there by trying to think as if I can be judged by the way you move. The Jew or Judaism. So that's where it all started. So they believed in harmful spirits, and the views just determined on how they felt about themselves. So when they were spreading that message upon Greece and Rome and Syria or fucking Kemet or Egypt, the Ethiopians adopted that bitch too. Went to Africa, Middle East. I mean, it was just all over the nation. They went over the waters and still preached the same message. But wait a minute. They were already caught up in the Americas, South America, Canada. Well, holy shit. Islam, the Jinn, Hinduism, Asuras, and Buddhism, the Mara. So, in a sense, too, demonology disappears in those different types of folklore stories and those different types of forms of Satanism. So, religion is just a mask for Satanism. And the Council of Nicaea, so that was when the bishops ended up portraying or acting like they were Christians. This is basically as consciousness existed in 325. So the timeline that's negative, yeah, way before the year 1, that's what it was as far as what people named. So they were already traveling through dimensions like quantum sciences and physics, physicists, if you will. They've been altering dimensions through atoms and molecular biology and whatever else. Once they did that, they were able to manipulate time and space to their own willpower. That's how they had power, because they forced us to submit to their teachings. But we taught them the sciences and the coordinates and the mathematical equations in the language to getting to that dimension there and back on some interstellar shit. So what I realized too with the Council of Nicaea and whatnot, so a meeting of Christian leaders of all complexions, our ancestors, you can go ahead and remote view this shit too. And they were debating who was in relation to God, Jesus Christ, but every other religion, denomination, if you will, they had their own iconic or idolization form of Jesus Christ or Lucifer. And they created the Nicene Creed, and they were addressing church disagreements and were setting common dates for just Passover, Last Supper, Thanksgiving, Easter, and Christmas as well. But they were able to pervert the message by getting the lower leaders who were willing to climb Masonry to do their bidding. Okay, let's see here. Because I was just taking notes too. I was doing a lot of research. Okay, so I don't need to even say that. Now, what I realized too. Hold on. Okay, so the people, what they were doing was they would study, for them to manipulate our behavior as far as with our ancestry. They were learning our behaviors, our values, and our weaknesses. So, for example, the smartest person in the room is the one that's observing. That's what they did because we taught them the observation or the effect. So, with Jesus Christ being guided by her or Mary, going into the Egyptian schools of mysteries, going underground, and being taught by Thoth. Why do you think people talk about the Emerald Tablets? That's all Luciferianism. It's all about hidden alchemical shifts into teaching yourself what you already know, but you're working with the dark arts, and you will get lost in that bitch. That's why Jesus Christ went underground pyramids to transcend the illusion of death. It's a fucking mockery or a ceremony of a graduating mind that transcends what the ego is afraid to lose itself. Allegory, if you will. They were twisting our ideas, and that became a distorted version. So our whipping, our buck breaking, that was very extreme. It still happens today, even with the lynchings, police brutality. But where did they get that from? Because if we are the first creation and nobody else was there besides us, and we're all one color in oneness, tell me if I'm wrong. If people believe that every other ethnicity or racial category did not exist, but we are the first, okay, where did these other oppressive racial vessels that are categories in the racial perspectives, where did they get these teachings or these works from? They were possessed by the memories that we crucified. They were creating situations that tempted us to act against our own principles. We taught them how to fall for the bait, gaslighting them, and doing entrapment and self-fulfilling traps that they didn't even see. But once they kept on coming back to the recycling phase of incarnation that we distilled upon or installed upon them, they were scanning the consciousness, remote viewing it, channeling it, having an awakening. That's when they went against us. But they call themselves a difference, white people. It's just like, no, bitch, you're light skinned. You're still a nigga. Stop. They have Uncle Ruckus disease, basically. The person reacts, and they call it vitiligo. It's like, stop. The person reacts emotionally and falls into the trap. And then not only just that, the manipulator will point the reaction as proof to the person's teaching being false. So when our ancestors, when they manipulated us into these schools of mysticism and esotericism and just basic curriculum of just history, math, science, language arts, whatever else, that was when they would blame us for the false teaching of what we were enslaved by. And so what I realized too, we got to understand why the mind decides to think as if color matters. What I realized was pattern recognition, social identity, in-group versus out-group bias, culture and history, and cognitive shortcuts. Because basically our awareness does not name itself a category or a nationality, a status, an identity. That's what the human does. The human, for some strange reason, thinks that culture matters. And when people are throwing up the devil horns and shit, it's just like, yeah, you're not a part of the culture, but you're showing your allegiance of your sacrifice. It's like you're doing yourself a disservice. That's your downfall, your symbolism. And when humanity goes beyond the symbolism of the norm, they'll be able to transcend duality, but they're afraid of it. I realize too, our brain puts people into a category based on how it sees itself. I also realize too, with the cognitive shortcut, our brain will use a visible feature to find quick judgment that's inaccurate. So a lot of times when people judge us by being disruptive, shouldn't be rude or whatever else, they're bringing a shortcut into their cognitive dissonance. Color is not an object, but it's how the brain interprets wavelengths of life. Black is the absence of visible light. White is a combination of many visible wavelengths. So you're naming somebody off of the light within their wavelength that they are vibrating into. So that's why you resonate with slave stories and content that talks about white people being this and that. It's just like, fam. Okay. It's like, fam, you don't realize you are the reason for that construction. Motherfuckers want to believe in manifestation. Nah. I understand intention. I intentionally create my reality because I know why it's happening that way. I know why I want it to be that way. I am the creator of what I think about. Therefore, I construct what I choose to believe. And yet, my belief is not my own. It's my system's biologically. Fuck that belief. That's a bitch. And the thing is, too, if a bunch of bitches are governing the way our cells are grown and we fall into that, we were meant to be in damnation anyway. And also, color is an experience created by the nervous system. So it does not exist as far as how we independently think about ourselves. So you are experiencing the color of how somebody sees themselves, and that's why they vibrate in lower ways of thinking. Like lower entities think about color. And that to me is why identification kills. Like people will say, no, bro, you're wrong, or you're this or you're that. Saying the Europeans didn't do this. No, I am aware of what Europeans did. Fuck them. But see, who am I to say fuck Europeans as if it's all of them? No, there are some conscious beings who are aware what the fuck they have done as far as what their ancestors still do. Now, they may have changed. Does that mean that I'm going to be with them 100% if I don't know them? No. But I'm going to give them a chance to see how they think and how they move. And if they say something or they get themselves off in a way that I expected, I'm not surprised. That's just your nature. I'm going to go the other way. Because why? You never existed before we met anyway, so why would I feel some kind of way about you when we never had any memories to begin with? In order for me to care about an Asian or a Palestinian or whatever, I had to care about their existence. I had to care about the name. The name is not the being, and the being is not human, so why would I act like human beings are real? Fuck. Now, the brain creates color categories, because that was the physics perspective. Now, I studied the psychology perspective. The brain creates color categories to help organize and the navigation upon the world that puts the skin on the complexity of what the color itself cannot emit. And this is why humans begin to attach meaning, identity, and emotion to these categories. Why do you think people are still constantly saying, white man this, massive that? It's just like, you are still talking about your oppression as far as epigenetic traumas. You need to heal. Do not disassociate from what they have done. That is still the truth. But before that truth became what we still get sold or promoted or told to follow, go back to your history and realize what the fuck they mimicked. And then if you had a source that you mimicked, wow, you are blind to God's worship. And you made a religion and you want to blame your brother and sister who's light skinned. You want to blame a lighter melanin version of yourself. That's still your lack of accountability. Grow the fuck up. So like when they call us the hard R, it's just like you're an ignorant dumbass. You dead ass calling me the hard R, and yet you are lighter than me, calling yourself a name that you haven't even researched before. Do you not know you were grown in a lab to look like that costume? And the lab is what you thought the womb is. What a shame. Humans believe they were born in a phase or a labeling or a process called pregnancy. And the pregnancy process is the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Menstruation and coming through the canal, boom, you're in a stream of consciousness that looks real, delusional. So yeah, I mean, honestly, this is exactly why when people understand, because I mean, that was basically it for the notes. I just want to go off the dome now. When it comes to adults, adults are the new children because they don't seem to understand that you are at fault for what you constantly make up. It's like what Morpheus told Neo in the construct. There's nothing there. We are coding all these different hacks that we program ourselves. So if you are looking into the screen of what you watch beyond the veil, then what does that say about the way you view yourself in nothingness? How are you an infinite being thinking as if slavery is a real concept? Bitch, you are creating slavery daily by talking about it. You are employed to it. I mean, motherfuckers go to work. They want to come home, go to work, talk about slavery and past times. So it's like, bitch, that's happening now. Wake the fuck up. You are the reason for why you are enslaved. If a nigga says, I'm gonna kill you and your family if you don't tell me about, man, nigga, kill me, bitch. Kill me. I will be thankful to go into another game that I know does not have the mind fearing what death can't fucking kill. These people were on power trips. Motherfuckers was on acid, LSD, shrooms, cocaine, weed. I mean, because these are plants, these are herbs. So they were high out their mind 24/7 because of what the fuck they did. Motherfuckers want to sit up here and cry and pay for a scene of our complexion being chained up in the shackles from head to toe. Emmett Till, it's just like, nigga, there you go, falling for the Masonic tricks. Human beings attracted the mindset, the ideology, or the belief of slavery, and they acted that bitch out. These are all theater kids. So you're reading into what human beings still commit. That's a sin. If you believe in a God, if you believe in a color, if you believe in anything, that's a sin. If sin even existed. I mean, I can go on and on all day, man. Honestly, if you detach from words and then you question and contradict everything and question everything, what the fuck are you choosing to do every single day by being human? That is your oppression. You believing as if you had to pay bills, that's your oppression. You clocking in and you thinking as if you had to clock out and be your own boss, that is oppression. You asking for a vacation, that's oppression. Because you still gonna think about work. You can't ever be free if you have a mind. So what the fuck is slavery when you are always flowing into what the mind itself is going to enslave no matter what? God is your slave master. So these royal incestuous families that govern the Vatican, the Jesuits, the Boule, Community 300, whatever else, all these Freemasonic hierarchies that are worshiping Lucifer, the God of this world, if that is the case, what makes you think your mind will ever be free from this dimension? See, now when you transcend that, you don't got to come back here because your body's already imitated. They already got your blood. They called you a name and a phone number and a social security. They gave us a SSN for what? They gave us a phone number for what? An address for what? We were born on a certain time for what? Night or day, but why? Certain seasons, how so? In certain climates, how? Certain traumas in our past, but when? When? When was all this happening? Oh, we're told about it. Is that so? Is that so a truth? How can that soul be a truth when soul itself is not the truth of its being? And if beings aren't even human, who the fuck is enslaving who when it's all amnesia? If amnesia is the reason for its own oppression, who is in control when you are not the mind? Prosperous awakening, peaceful afternoon, and thriving, determined night to any mirage understanding this reminder. If you made it this far, comment down below. Humanity is the reason for their own enslavement. Whoa. Humanity is the reason for its own enslavement. Slavery does not exist in my world. That's how you remain free. Humanity is the reason for their own enslavement. Slavery does not exist in my world. Humanity is the reason for their own enslavement. Slavery does not exist in my world. Humanity is the reason for their own enslavement. Slavery does not exist in my world. If the mind is the tricks within masonry, how do you transcend the parasitic bond of vampirism, ancient parasitic non-angelic bloodlines that are artificially connected to your internal frame of what you thought the identity should have been naming the body into being what? Don't act like what you thought a human is, because a human being is only going to be the hue of light. You are a light bearer observing the experience of what the mind itself is going to interpret and think as if it's supposed to be comfortable in. Don't be comfortable in what you can't see. And if you can't see comfortability in what you lie within, how do you transcend the lies of what you thought you were in? I'm gone. And that was just the intro, by the way. I didn't even get started.